First story. I, 37M, can't stop thinking about my toxic cheating ex, 35F. We met on Tinder in March, during the pandemic. We talked a lot on the phone due to isolation, and after a month, we met for the first time. We clicked right away. We were very good together and started seeing each other regularly. It was a wonderful time, with a lot of free time due to isolation, and of course, everyone knows what the first 3 months after meeting someone are like. A month after our first meeting, in May, she had her birthday, which she celebrated with 3 friends. She decided to spend her birthday with me the next day because she thought it was too early for me to see her drunk. I thought that was understandable. I'll return to this point later. Of course, the day after her birthday, as we had planned, we spent together, went on a date, and had a great time. In June, we both decided that we were officially together, although she pushed for it more. I wasn't ready, but I didn't want to lose her, so I agreed. In July, she left for 2 months to work abroad, and 3 days before her departure, I spontaneously decided to go with her. And this is where the first red flag appeared. While we were there was a situation where my phone ran out of battery, and she gave me hers to text one of our friends working there. Unfortunately, she forgot what she had written to him. A few days before leaving for work, before she knew I would be there too, she texted him that she was coming to work. She had worked there the previous summer, just like him, and that's what the conversation was about. It was flirtatious. He mentioned it was a pity she had been taken the year before because he couldn't flirt with her, to which she replied that now he would have the chance to make an effort because she was coming. I told her this was too much, that we were already together, and that what she wrote was excessive. This was the first time I was manipulated. She twisted it around, saying that she was joking and it wasn't serious. Of course, I believed her and, like a complete fool, explained to her that she couldn't joke like that because men perceive it differently than she intends. I didn't have to wait long for the next red flag. My already shaken trust led me to check the messages with her friend, whom she had been seeing 3 months before meeting me. They had kissed a few times in the club and went on a few dates, but he eventually ended it and started seeing another girl. I opened the messages and saw that in May, on her birthday, which I mentioned earlier, she drunkenly texted him that she missed him, asked why he did this to her, and said she wanted him to come back. We had been seeing each other for over a month at this point. He didn't reply. Once again, I forgave her. She said we weren't officially together at the time, so I couldn't hold it against her. I accepted this explanation and forgave her. After returning from work, our relationship flourished. We visited many beautiful places, traveled a lot, and even started our master's studies together. Unfortunately, her infidelity didn't end there. I won't mention the fact that throughout our 4-year relationship, I regularly caught her checking the Instagram profiles of that guy, his girlfriend, and her friends from her fake account. She also checked his LinkedIn. She explained it as pure curiosity. Of course, I bought that. A year ago in June, after 3 years of our relationship, my patience ran out. Even though he had been in a relationship for a while, he started responding to her Instagram stories. I didn't care until she replied to him. Something broke inside me, and I decided to break up. Unfortunately, I wasn't persistent in this decision, forgave her, and we got back together. In November last year, a lot of things were going on in my life. I was buying an apartment, defending my master's thesis, and dealing with issues at work and within my family. The stress led to anxiety. She was very unsympathetic. When I felt bad, she would roll her eyes and say I was crazy. There was even a situation where I came home from work, begging her to stay with me because I felt like I was dying. But she told me she couldn't because she had plans, and that I should call someone from my family. Of course, I forgave this too. In December, as my anxiety subsided, we were lying in bed, and I thanked her for being with me. I still don't know why I thanked her. as her support was minimal, and told her I loved her. She didn't respond, which terrified me. We started talking, and she admitted that she hadn't felt the same for a while and wasn't sure if she wanted to be with me anymore. I asked her what happened, what I had done wrong, and she accused me of spending too much time on my phone, being late for our dates, and not spending time with her family. For the next 2 months, wherever we went, I left my phone at home, always arrived early, and started visiting her family more often than my own. Despite my anxiety worsening again, we went on a short vacation to Spain, because she couldn't imagine staying home just because I felt bad. Of course, despite feeling terrible, I went because I didn't want her to leave me because of my illness. In February, returning from work, I was very hungry and asked if she had anything to eat because I hadn't eaten anything. She replied that she didn't know because she didn't feel like going to the fridge and suggested I go home. This prompted another conversation about why she was treating me this way. She said that nothing had really changed since our last talk, and she still felt the same. That even though I had changed, she wasn't sure if she loved me. I decided that was enough reason for me to break up, and in February, we went our separate ways, but not for long. In March, we got back together and fell in love again, or so I thought. She kept telling me she loved me, missed me, couldn't wait to see me, and that our time apart had shown her how good she had it with me. I could feel it too, in the way she hugged me. Our sex was better than ever. We went on a lot of dates, and we were renovating my apartment together, though I asked her to refer to it as our apartment, even though I bought it because I wanted her to feel like part of it. A few days after we got back together, she went out for coffee in the evening with a friend. There, she met another friend who was with a guy. She told me about the situation when she got back, and that the guy followed her on Instagram. I didn't think much of it. The next day, we arranged to go for a walk in the park, and she sent me a picture of how she looked before we met. That same evening, I jokingly asked if the guy had already messaged her, and to my surprise, she didn't respond. It turned out that not only had he messaged her, but they had been flirting. There were lines like, him, I was at the club last week. Her, it's a shame we missed each other because I was there 2 weeks ago. Him, maybe we can fix that with a drink next week. Her, that's something to consider. Him, I recently bought a house. Her, you're a good catch. Noted. Additionally, she sent him the same photo she sent me. Oh, and I almost forgot. She muted the conversation so she wouldn't get notifications when she was with me. This time I didn't forgive, until I did. After seeing those messages, I got really angry. I told her it was over, asked how she could tell me she loved me while flirting with a guy she had known for only a few hours. Of course, she begged for forgiveness, got down on the floor, said it was a stupid conversation and nothing would have happened because she just didn't think a guy that handsome would actually be interested, and that it was just an internal desire to flirt, but nothing more. For the next 2 days, she kept texting me about how much she loved me, how amazing I was, that she couldn't imagine life without me, and that she would never forgive herself if she lost me. She said she would now always be faithful because this showed her that I meant everything to her, and that she would block that guy and tell him he misunderstood her. Of course, no one will be surprised that I bought it. A few days later, we went out for dinner, and during that dinner, she told me she was going to Spain with her friends for 4 days because they had planned it when we weren't together. And she felt bad about backing out now because if she didn't go, none of them would, and it was the only chance, as later we would be living together, having kids, and she always dreamed of this trip. My arguments that the apartment was the priority now, that we had significant financial obligations, that I wasn't even buying new shoes, let alone going on a trip, didn't sway her. I suggested that if she wanted to go, we should go together to repair our relationship at a later date, and that this year, it wasn't necessary to go on a trip with her friends, especially after what had happened a few days earlier. Of course, she convinced me anyway, so I agreed. Go. The flight was in June, so we spent another 2 months renovating together. We'd already taken our first bath in the new tub, gone on tons of dates, had a lot of sex. In general, things were better than at the start of the relationship. Yes, I forget and forgive quickly. As she was leaving, she told me she loved me, missed me terribly, and couldn't wait to come back. It's worth noting that while she was there, she took out a loan for apartment panels, to be paid off over 2 years. Given how shaky my trust was, I kept an eye on her new followers throughout her stay. Even though I asked her to skip the clubs, she went to one on the first day. She first lied, saying everyone went, but it turned out that only half the group did. Then she lied again, claiming they didn't meet anyone, even though I saw that her friend had 2 new male followers on Instagram. But I decided to wait until she got back to confront her. And that's what happened. She came back. Of course, it was all about love, hugs, etc. When I asked how it went, I gave her opportunities to tell me if they met anyone. She denied it, saying they didn't meet anyone, that no guys even approached them. When I asked about her friend's 2 new followers, she lied again, saying her friend must have met them on her own because she didn't know who they were. Let me add that for the last 2 years, she's been extremely protective of her phone, even taking it with her to the bathroom. There was never a situation where I could be alone with her phone, and it was the same this time. But she forgot about her watch. Her Apple Watch was lying on the dresser when she went to take a bath, and I asked myself if I really wanted to do this to myself. Was I ready to see what was on there, or would I rather live in blissful ignorance? I chose not to live a lie and check the messages. Of course, it was a bullseye. Messages in Spanish to Eduardo. I felt my heart sink. It's a feeling I've come to know all too well with this girl. When she came back from the bathroom, I told her to confess because I already knew. She pretended not to know what I was talking about. Even when I mentioned Eduardo, she denied it. She kept denying it until I showed her the messages on the watch. She had deleted them from her phone, thinking I wouldn't find out. She was so desperate that she used a translator because he couldn't speak English, so she went out of her way to write to him in Spanish, his native language. By the way, they're still in contact, and supposedly, it was just a dance and nothing more happened. Her reaction was very cold. She said that she wanted to break up anyway, that her doubts had returned, and that she probably didn't love me anymore. She said that if she loved me, she wouldn't have done this, so the fact that she's emotionally cheating shows her that she doesn't love me. I talked to her for the next 2 days instead of leaving with dignity, analyzing every aspect, wondering what I did wrong, whether I wasn't attractive enough, and why she did this. She couldn't answer. She couldn't point out a single trait I should change to fix things. In the meantime, I found out from friends that a year ago, she was bad-mouthing me to one of my friends, who, incidentally, is no longer my friend. She said it annoyed her that I took a long time to get ready when we went out, or that I was often late, which she never told me directly. It turned out that she regularly bad-mouthed me to our friends. We met a month later, by chance. During the conversation, she told me that she's now seeing 3 different guys, one of whom she had sex with on the hood of a car on their first date, just 2 weeks after we broke up. She even showed me his photos, a tall, fit guy, 3 years younger than her. She also said she doesn't feel like she did anything wrong because she's just not that kind of person. That's why she thinks she stopped loving me. If she was interested in another guy in Spain, when for 4 years, she only had eyes for me and didn't find anyone else attractive. When I pointed out that just 2 months earlier, she said she felt the happiest and most in love. Yet she was flirting with another guy. She said that she must have only thought she loved me, and she justified flirting with other guys at the beginning of our relationship by saying that the beginning doesn't count because there isn't a deep love yet. I still can't hate her. I keep dwelling on the good times, blaming myself for not going to the gym and getting in shape so that she'd find me more attractive. Maybe then she wouldn't have had such needs. I never yelled at her, even when she cheated on me. The worst thing I said to her in those 4 years was that she had an ugly personality. I never cursed at her. I always tried to talk through every problem with her because I consider myself to be a very understanding and calm person. I try to see things from others' perspectives and understand their needs. I gave her countless compliments. While in those 4 years, I only heard something nice from her maybe 3 or 4 times. My self-esteem practically doesn't exist anymore. I don't know how to cope and eliminate the thoughts that she might be so happy with another guy that she'll never cheat on him, and why I couldn't be the man she wouldn't cheat on. Second story. Wife cheated on me with a gay man. Wife cheated on me with her best friend and he is gay. As the title says, my wife, 45F, cheated on me, 34M, with her best friend, 30M. We have 2 boys, 3 and 1, together, and things between them started brewing when she was 8 weeks pregnant with our second. Please keep listening for more information and context. I really need advice and support. On Tuesday, I got a text from AP's boyfriend telling me that my wife and AP have been having an affair for at least the past year, possibly more. At first I thought, what kind of sick joke is this, because Wifey isn't cheater. She been always faithful. But then he sent me screenshots of their very explicit conversations. He said there were pictures and videos of them doing things together and countless messages of very sexual things. My heart sank and I started trembling. Never in the 10 years that we've known each other did I have an inkling that she's cheated or that she'd even unfaithful on me. Both of our dads cheated and we swore we'd never do that to each other and the children. We literally just bought a house a month ago too. Here's the fuck up. This woman she was cheating with was very involved in me and the children's lives. So much so that he was at our house every Friday evening, sometimes on the weekends too, and our kids adored him. I would cook meals for this man, support the friendship he had with my wife, confide in him sometimes. He was basically our whole support system. These 2 would fuck on our couch every Friday when I went to bed with the kids. They met at the gym every morning and would sometimes do stuff in the car. Sometimes after putting the kids to bed on Fridays, I would go talk to Wifey and AP, and many times I could sense some tension between them. I would even ask Wifey as a joke if she was cheating with AP, but she would just brush it off. I didn't trust my gut because I didn't think she could be cheated. The only reason AP's boyfriend even found out is because AP ended up at the hospital needing life-saving surgery for an autoimmune disease that he has, and AP's phone kept getting messages every day from my wife, and boyfriend decided to fish around. That's when he found all the evidence. He confronted my wife and told her to cut contact, but my wife still didn't tell me. Fast forward a week later and AP's boyfriend wrote to me. I called Wifey, and she told me everything. Wifey told me everything, every detail I needed to know, why she did it, when and how it started, why she kept going, why she couldn't tell me. She said she'd do literally anything if it means she gets to stay in the children's lives. She was and is very distraught, remorseful, accepts full blame, and is willing to do anything to try to repair. During the time of her affair, she was a very present mother and was an okay wife. She still would care for me and never once made me feel less. We've been so caught up with our kids that our relationship took a backseat even before she had an affair. So the fact that we weren't being intimate or very loving towards each other wasn't a red flag. She didn't replace me. She was rather living a double life where she could be straight and normal with me, have a life with children and do family things, and then live her secret cheating life with AP. She couldn't tell me because AP only satisfied her need, emotional and physical, and she didn't know if I would support her new needs. She also didn't feel loved and wanted in our marriage, neither did I. We hadn't been intimate since we conceived baby 2. AP started pursuing her when she was 8 weeks pregnant. Wifey didn't stop it. Their first sexual encounter was not too much later after that because Wiffy asked for oral and anal. Again a few months later after she giving birth to our second, he pursued again. And by then they started the full-blown affair simultaneously. They were best friends and Wiffy had developed feelings so she went with it. When AP tried to stop the frequently rendezvous multiple times or tapering down, my wife would push and emotionally blackmail so AP would continue. In hindsight Wiffy sees how toxic and fucked up the whole relationship was. But in that moment she was blinded by love and how AP dominate in their relationship. As I mentioned, she's willing to do anything when AP threatens to tie their relationship, and has been very open to AP about her feelings. We talk every night about how we feel, we process together, we cry together. She's always been my best friend and I still care deeply about her and vice versa. I'm obviously still hurting and she's giving me the space to grieve, to question, to understand, to talk, to do what I need to do to process. For now the decision we have made is to coexist for the sake of the children, at least until the younger one turns 5 in 4 years. While we are coexisting, we will each go to therapy and also try to actively work on our relationship by going to marriage counseling. We're basically starting from scratch because we want to give our family and relationship another chance. This is of course after I have been able to grieve and process. It's not something I am being forced to do. I have full freedom to do what I choose and she will support my decision. If we feel like our marriage isn't going to work maybe 2 years down the line, then we start seeing other people but continue to coexist parent until we get a divorce and discuss custody arrangements. I guess what I'm asking for is advice on this whole situation and decision. Is there something I'm not thinking of or not seeing? Should I be asking more questions or getting more clarity? Third story. Partner cheated on me with a friend of her family while on holiday and is now having to spend time around him again. I'll keep it simple, but I really have nobody to talk to about all of this and I'm so in my head about it all it's insane. We've been in a good relationship for almost 5 years now. Both soon to be 31. We have a nearly 4-year-old daughter and had a lot of hardship in the beginning due to our age and other factors. We moved in together a little over 2 years ago now, and throughout that time I began to really lose myself and became too comfortable and in turn acted very controlling. Though I should say my paranoia on this front was slightly warranted as when we got together at 16, she cheated quite a bit for the first 6 months. Though age and the circumstance allowed me to move past it all after such time. It's actually another thing that makes this so hard. As although it sounds odd, I could get past 2 kids fooling around as it was always like a different her, a different and less mature her physically and mentally. Back to the point, I was unhappy if she was anywhere without me. I got really uptight about any clothing at all that wasn't jeans and a t-shirt. I could be insulting, aggressive and an absolute drain to be around. I can understand how things got so bad. And I have since made changes to show that this is a fresh slate, and I have once again forgiven this act, such as bothering with a job, helping more around the house, actually spending time with her instead of ignoring her for whatever else, going outside for the first time properly on years besides a few days out with family or holidays. I got very bad with this and wouldn't go anywhere, not even the shops. I won't go on, but I'm doing my best to show her that we will both be working on ourselves and our relationship, and getting it back to what it was. I'm super worried because this all happened so fast over the last month. It was the end of July when she cheated, and she came back and was going to end things, and I of course fought and was willing to make every change I can. She told me about the cheating maybe a week or 2 later as we were beginning to make things better. I'd been at my mom's a few nights and she took me back in. And that took us to the beginning mid-August. She went back up on the 22nd of August and has had to be spending time around the friend of the family. Particularly she will be doing so today, which is why I am even more worried. She seems to be staying in touch enough, considering she is busy with family etc. and letting me know about run-ins and things, but I still feel like she wants him somehow. Like them being around each other will only lead to the same shit and I will be broken again. I know this is a hurdle for our relationship. And I know we have both handled things in the wrong ways. But I can't deal with the thought of it happening yet again. And it's literally a small island, only 5,000 people or so they are bound to see each other a lot throughout this time. She isn't very good with words, never has been, and that's another thing I struggled with, as I'm sure you will notice with this rambling. I spammed a lot and wasn't the nicest throughout her last trip. I wasn't there for her when she needed me, and it was a funeral and wake for her grandfather. Her mother has always been shit to her and embarrassed her a lot on the days, too. I know it was a hard time for her, and I'm trying to move past it all, but this is seriously reminding me of what happened, and the possibility of it happening again, in the same place, with the same guy. Back to the point of her not being great at talking. She seems remorseful and regretful in her own way, but she has never been someone who apologizes or talks much about anything. And we had such a short time to discuss it all before her going back up, that I can only imagine it will repeat itself. She is definitely staying in touch an okay amount so far and is trying to tell me what's going on, but I can't get past the worry. To put it simply, she cheated on me recently in the same location she is in right now, and she is going to have to spend time with the guy due to family relations. How do I not obsess and give her space to enjoy her time while making sure she's not fucking this guy again?